ever jumped in a pool of water? If so, then you understand the concept of being submerged or totally immersed in something. Have you ever been thinking about something and been so consumed with it, you didn't notice what was going on around you? Then you also understand the concept of being totally immersed in something. My name is Michael Williams, and I want to thank you for watching this video. Today, we're going to be talking about immersion and how this can help you improve your speech and therefore improve your life. So you're probably wondering, what does immersion in pools of water have to do with improving my speech? Well, if you look up the word immersion, one of the definitions that you might see is a method of teaching a foreign language where the individual, the person, uses the language to the exclusion of everything else. That is, they exclusively use that language. So many, many years ago, I attended a language immersion course in Guatemala. And I was there for about 2 months, I believe it was. And so all day, every day, we heard Spanish, we talked Spanish, we read Spanish, we wrote Spanish, right? We watched TV in Spanish, we listened to Spanish music. And so we totally immersed ourselves in Spanish. I subsequently would travel to different parts of Latin America. For instance, I went to Nicaragua and stayed there for a month or two. Why? To totally immerse myself in the language. And what this does, now listen, what this does is when you immerse yourself in something, and particularly a language, when you immerse yourself in the language, it allows you to create, to build, to strengthen those neural connections much faster than if you did not immerse yourself, right? So immersion helps you strengthen those connections, those neural pathways, those neural connections that manage that language, okay? So everything we do is based on and is regulated by and managed by our brain, essentially. So when you're speaking a language, you have different language centers in your brain that manage that. So learning a new language, there are certain areas of your brain that manage the vocabulary, how you hear the language, how you think in the language, and all of those sorts of things. Well, the same thing happens when it comes to your speech and when it comes to overcoming stuttering or stammering or whatever it is, or speaking too fast. Your brain manages that. And so if you truly want to improve your speech, then you have to understand to a small degree how your brain works and how to use that mechanism, how to use that process to do what? To build new connections or strengthen connections that's going to manage the way you want to speak, right? So one of the ways we can do this is through total immersion. When you immerse yourself in a new way of speaking, we're going to talk about that in a minute. If you immerse yourself, you totally immerse yourself, like jumping into the pool of water and being totally immersed. When you immerse yourself in this new way of speaking, then what happens? What happens is you build those connections faster, which means you're going to be speaking in this new way faster than if you didn't immerse yourself. Remember, one of the key words in the definition, or in one of the definitions of immersion, is to the exclusion of, right? You exclude everything else and you focus just on that language. So the Pro 90D speech system is designed really to be an immersive experience, an immersive system. So let's talk about a few things. Why are we talking about a new way of speaking? And what's important about that? Why do you need to do it? Why do I recommend that you do that? There are certainly other ways to overcome stuttering, to overcome stammering, to improve your speech. One of the best ways and one of the fastest ways that I've found is to immerse yourself in a new way of speaking. That is, to create a new way of speaking. Why? Because if you speak the same way you've been speaking, then what are you going to get, right? If you do the same things in the same way, then you're going to get the same results, the same outcomes. So if you continue to speak in the same way that you've spoken, then you're going to get whatever it is that you're getting now. You're going to get stumbling and fumbling and choppy speech and stammering and so forth, because it's the same. Your brain is recognizing, oh, we're speaking the same way we usually speak. And in these situations, I get stuck, I stutter, I stammer, right? So here I am in this particular speaking situation, ordering food, introducing myself, and I'm speaking the same way. Then the brain looks for patterns and it says, okay, this is how we're supposed to speak. We're supposed to get stuck. We've been getting stuck for many years, right? So in order to get a different result, what's the result you want? You want smooth speech, you want relaxed speech. You don't really want to have to think about speaking. You just want to be able to say what you want to say. In order to be able to get to that, what you have to do is you have to create a new way of speaking. Now, this new way of speaking, listen, doesn't have to be strange. In fact, it shouldn't be strange. It doesn't have to be something that's weird. In fact, it shouldn't be weird, right? But it does need to be new. There needs to be some newness to the way that you're speaking, so that your brain recognizes, oh, look, this is a new way of speaking. I'm speaking in a different way, substantially different than the way I was speaking before. There are some programs and some therapeutic treatments that focus on trying to fix the way you currently speak. That is, go in and let's change the way you say this word and the way that you pronounce this word and the way that you... And those can be effective. I'm not saying that they're ineffective. They can be effective. They can be helpful. But one of the best ways, and I believe a better way, is to just completely overwrite your current way of speaking and creating a brand new way. And once again, when I say brand new, I'm not talking about weird. Now, it may feel strange to you because it's new. Anything new often feels strange. Sometimes it can feel weird, but it's not going to be weird, right? When someone else is watching you or listening to you, they don't hear weird or strange. They just hear different, or they hear good or smooth or whatever. So while you're working on this new way of speaking, which I'll explain in just a little bit, it may in fact feel weird to you or strange at first, only because you haven't gotten used to it yet. Does this make sense? Now, how does all of this tie into immersion? Well, when you have figured out your ideal way of speaking, here's an example. You want to speak more smoothly, for example, right? You want to speak more smoothly. You want to speak more clearly so people don't have to ask you to repeat yourself, or so that they don't give you a weird look. You want to speak more confidently, right? More confidently, so people believe what you're saying. So these are some examples of an ideal way of speaking. And if this is the case, then what you're going to want to do is to say, okay, what is smoothly, clearly, and confidently? What does that look like? What does it sound like? Okay, so we need a reference. What does smooth speaking sound like? What does it look like? What does it feel like? One of the best ways to capture, to get a picture of what smooth speech sounds like and what it looks like and what it feels like is to, in fact, model someone that speaks that way. You can try to create it on your own, and you can, but it's harder, right? Why not? Look at a pattern. All the greats throughout history have had patterns. They've had models. They've had people who they've studied. You may not know this. You may not have seen it. But if you go back and you look at great artists, musicians, athletes, they had models. They had people that they patterned themselves after initially, okay? So modeling is also a very natural way of learning. When you and I grew up and we learned how to speak and do many of the things that we do now, we actually modeled, we mimicked someone, our parents, our siblings, people around us. Okay, so modeling is very natural. So therefore, you want to have a pattern for smooth speech, for clear speech, for confident speech. You study someone, you study how they speak, you create a mental impression, a mental imprint of how that person speaks. And then, whenever you speak, every time you speak, you completely immerse yourself in this way of speaking. You tell yourself, I want to speak like my model. I'm going to speak like my model. And as you're speaking, you pull up an image, or you pull up an audio. Some people are visual, some people are auditory learners, right? Some people are both. So you pull up an image, you pull up an audio, you pull up both. And while you're speaking, you are modeling this person. And the key is to do this all the time. That's where immersion comes in. You want to model this person. But not only do you model the person all the time, but you have to have a strong enough mental imprint of how this person speaks. How do you get that? How do you get that? By studying their videos, by listening to their audios, right? Watching their videos, listening to their audios are two of the very best ways to create a very strong mental imprint or impression of how this person speaks. The Pro 90D speech system is designed, in fact, we have a protocol, I call it a daily routine or a protocol, that tells you step by step how to do that, and then it gives you the audios and videos to actually model. When I work with clients, I ask them to model me because they're already watching and listening to my videos. It's not because I believe that I'm the best speaker in the world. That's not it. It's just that through my several years of experience, it's been easier to have people model me than to have them go out and find their own models. You can do that, and that can work, but here are some things that you need to be cautious of. Number one, I've seen people go out and pick multiple models, and then they keep changing models. Oh, I don't like this guy. Well, I used to like this guy. I don't like her, or I like her, but not. And then what happens is they're burning a lot of energy and time finding models. You don't have time for that, right? You're going to be burning enough energy trying to create your new way of speaking. You just don't have time to be out there picking models. You pick a model, and you stick with that model long enough to create this new reference style of speaking, right? This new impression. Another thing that happens is people pick a model who speaks too fast. Like they love the way this person speaks, they love their energy, but generally speaking, people that struggle with their speech, generally speaking, from my experience, which is quite vast actually, there is this sense of feeling rushed, of needing to speak now. Many of the people I work with actually speak too fast. Not everyone, not everyone. Some people speak too fast. Some people just feel rushed. They don't speak fast, they feel rushed. So you don't want to model someone who has this super excitable way of speaking, and they're speaking fast. You may love it, and you may want to speak that way one day, but trust me, what you probably want to do, and the person you probably want to model, is someone that speaks slower than that. I'm not talking about so slow that they're boring people, but slower than that so that you can learn how to feel relaxed and you can learn how to speak smoothly, again, in a more calmer manner than that person who's excited. So that's another caution that I want to give you about finding your own model. Someone says, well, Michael, I don't speak English every day. So for sure, in that situation, you may want to find someone who speaks your language that you can model, who has a very smooth, rhythmic way of speaking. But I'll tell you, most of my clients, English is not their first language. Seriously, most of my clients, English is not their first language. And I've had some clients who only speak English when they speak to me or when they occasionally have to speak English. They speak another language on a regular basis. And they modeled me, and it transferred into their own language. So this is something that you can do even if English is not your first language. So you have to immerse yourself in this, just like you're learning a foreign language and you use to the exclusion of everything else, you exclusively use that language. You have to exclusively use this new way of speaking that you've been modeling. Does this make sense? You want to listen to, you want to watch, you want to think about, you want to use this new way of speaking all day, every day. And you're not going to start out like that, but if you keep kind of pushing yourself to use this new way of speaking more and more in more and more conversations, more and more throughout the day, right? You're eventually going to get there, but you have to just keep pushing. You can't get frustrated. You can't give up. You just have to keep pushing until, just like learning a new language, right? You don't start out speaking that language, first of all, and then once you do speak it, you don't start out being able to say everything you want perfectly and fluently and smoothly. You just keep learning it and pushing your boundaries, right? Reaching until finally you're speaking it smoother and smoother, better and better, in more and more situations. Your vocabulary is expanding and it's expanding. Does that make sense? So using an immersive process, using an immersive systematic process means that you are watching and listening to your model every day, that you are then practicing speaking like your model, both in private and in public, that you are pushing yourself to use this new way of speaking all the time. The Pro 90D speech system gives you that protocol, it gives you the audios, it gives you the videos, it breaks down the specific skills, because they're skills, they're things that you can learn, like the way that you speak, speaking smoothly, articulating, all those things are skills that you can learn and practice. The Pro 90D speech system does that. So what's next? What are your next steps? One is to understand why immersion is the fastest way and the very best way to create a new way of speaking. And not only a new way of speaking, but the Pro 90D speech system also addresses the way that you think, right? We're addressing and we're changing the way you think. Well, what does thinking have to do with speaking? Well, for most people, a lot. You're anticipating words that are coming. You're thinking about words. You're thinking ahead, right? We don't want to do that. The same way as you get up and you walk, you say, hey, I want to go over there. Or, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. You don't think about and analyze how you're going to walk and how you're going to get there. You just go do it. It's the same thing when we're communicating. You have an intention, you have an idea, something you want to say or no, you just do it, right? So what you want to do is when you immerse yourself using this system, we get you to the place where you're not thinking about speaking. So we're changing the way you think. Some people don't believe that they're able to speak well, so we're changing that, building confidence. All of this you get in the system. So what are the next steps? The next steps are for you to think about, am I ready really to immerse myself and to change my speech and improve my life, right? If I really need to do that and I'm ready to do that, then I want you to seriously take a look at this system. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone, but it's for people who are professional or professionally minded. It's for people who are willing to invest a reasonable amount of time and money, okay, into improving their speech and improving their life. So you want to take a look at one or two things. Some people start with our self-study and move to coaching if they need it, and some people start with the coaching because they know that they need it. You want to do coaching if you need accountability, which is the big one. Everything is in the self-study. I use the self-study with my coaching clients. The difference is that they get accountability because most people want to give up. After a few days or a few weeks, they want to give up. And your brain doesn't work that way, right? It takes time. If you're building muscles, you can give up in a week or two, right? But if you keep building those muscles, then you're going to see those muscles, right? You're going to see the weight come off. If you're learning a language, you want to quit in a week or two, sure you can, but you're not going to learn the language. Same thing here. It's that accountability. It's the evaluation of feedback, which can save you time. And it's the encouragement, which keeps you on track, keeps you from quitting. Now, I can't stop anyone, but I can encourage you. Some people want to try the system out, and so you probably want to do our mobile self-study, and so I'll have some links for both of those things. You want to try the system out, you want to do the self-study route, work at your own pace, then you want to do the mobile self-study. So those are your next steps. Consider, do you fit the profile? Are you professionally minded? Are you serious? Are you willing to invest some time and money? If the answers are yes, then look at our self-study, look at our coaching. Coaching gets you there faster. Self-study takes longer. That's just the fact, right? It just takes longer. But it can get you there, and it works, right? It can get you there, it just takes longer. So it's up to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that it was helpful in helping you understand immersive technology. How can you immerse yourself in this, and how you can use immersion to help create a brand new and better way of speaking. And I hope that you understand some next steps that you can take. My name is Michael Williams. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you either in the self-study or the coaching.